Hey guys, what's going on? I'm Good. Most of you guys know me from my tournament casting, but when I'm not talking for extended periods of time, I also occasionally play Duelyst. It's pretty common knowledge by now, but I'm a Songhai player pretty exclusively, and I think it's also pretty common knowledge how far above the learning curve Songhai is perceived to be. I noticed this a lot in tournament play, as you'll now find a lot of players running Songhai more prevalently, while in the past the tournament meta used to be dominated by generals like Cass, Kara, and to a lesser degree Vath and Xerix. But for the disproportionality in Songhai's power, I noticed they're played surprisingly rare on the latter. And the prevailing opinion would seem to be that Songhai, while being capable of some absolutely absurd combos, has an equally high learning curve. My theory behind this conclusion is that Songhai as a faction harbors a very unique playstyle that can either seem unintuitive or just unduelist-like. So for the sake of bridging that gap, I figured I would talk my way through a game and discuss the possibilities that I see throughout. Hopefully some of you find this beneficial. I'm sure by now you guys realize I really like talking, so let's get on with the game. Alright, so I'll start right from the replace. In this hand I assess it to be pretty low odds that I'll end up using Ghost Lightning or Killing Edge either this turn or next. Obviously I'm not playing Ghost Lightning or Killing Edge this turn, but the chances of me making either be really effective next turn is pretty slim, so I decide to nix both of them. And another thing I want to explain here is, some might consider this BM, but with a hand like this, I think it's really okay to play a Phoenix Fire turn 1, and I end up doing that in this situation. I replace the Heaven's Eclipse, look for what I can get, and then I just play a Phoenix Fire, because I know I'll be able to have extra draw the upcoming turn, and if I don't play that Phoenix Fire, I'll either overdraw or, I would struggle with excess cards in hand. So for a deck that's very draw heavy like mine, I'm not too concerned about playing a Phoenix Fire turn 1, even if it seems like BM. So I end up replacing one of the Spelljammers because it's excess draw. Really, it's just a draw source. I play the Spelljammer to block the mana tile, but I decide against playing Phoenix Fire because it's a pretty hefty use of a Phoenix Fire. There's a good chance the Abyssal Crawler will die from other reasons, or I can get extra value from killing it incidentally with a Ghost Lightning, which I just happened to draw. It's a pretty lucky draw, but I mean there are other things that would be beneficial as well, like Twin Strike. And there's a good chance he'll just, I'm thinking at this point, there's a good chance he'll just swing it off into the Spelljammer, and you'll see in a second that that's what he decides to do. But that's why I chose not to deal with the Abyssal Crawler turn 1. It wasn't a huge threat. Extra creep tiles aren't very consequential in this early in the game. And for the large majority of Cassiva matchups, the games usually end before things like Obliterate really become relevant. One thing I would be concerned with is Abyssal Juggernauts, though. I need to have Onyx Bear Seals prepared for them. I need to be able to deal with Kalinos, as we see one just came up. So at the end of the day, he ends up cleaning off the Spelljammer at the cost of just his Abyssal Crawler, which kind of sucks. I end up getting a replace into Killing Edge for Inner Focus, and man, I really wanted both of them at once. That's kind of compounded by the fact that I make a misplay here. For some reason, I played Heartseeker, Inner Focus, and I used Mist Dragon Seal to put them on the mana tile, instead of having the Heartseeker walk onto the mana tile and then Mist Dragon Sealing it into someplace safe. So this allows Axis to swing it off the board, and I decided to get the Four Winds Magi on the board and do some damage with that, as opposed to just strictly killing off the Kalino and having some dubious value over the next turn, especially since I couldn't buff up the Heartseeker too much. I made the call that Four Winds Magi would probably end up doing more damage than he could heal, and that turns out to be correct. Now, the Phoenix Fire I know will clear Kalino, so I definitely wanted to hold on to that. The Twin Strike requires him to play an additional minion, but I want to hold on to it because it's my only source of draw right now, and this deck depends very heavily on being able to cycle. So this next turn, there's a good chance I'll just end up throwing away Ghost Lightning. In fact, it's almost a certainty, because if he plays another minion, a Twin Strike Ghost Lightning would get rid of the Kalino. So unless he played something like, I'm not even sure what. I mean, there's really almost no need for me to have two Ghost Lightnings, unless he played like an Abyssal Crawler, but even then. Instead, he plays probably the worst thing for me, Shadow Nova, because that heals him the most. His Bloodborne spell heals him, and then I still can't use Twin Strike. That being said, still gotta get rid of one of the Ghost Lightnings. I still have the Phoenix Fire insurance policy. I draw. That would be too greedy. Hang on, I want to pause it for a second. I felt like in that situation, if I were to play Heaven's Eclipse, it would be too greedy because I get no guaranteed clear of the Kalino. And I also might end up overdrawing again, and that's pretty detrimental to this deck. But I wanted to be 100% certain I'd be able to deal with the Kalino before it got too much value on the board. So instead I play Phoenix Fire to kill the Kalino, and then Ghost Lightning because I'm pretty sure at this point he'll be able to clear off Forin's Magi next turn, even with it far away. So I want to get that extra value from him where I can. Now, next turn, he plays Sphere of Darkness, so I'm not too concerned yet. It would still survive one. I'm thinking like Blood Tier Alchemist in this situation. But he plays Darkspine Elemental. That clears it just the same. But I'm probably not standing on any Shadow Creep tiles, so it's not too much of a threat. I just kind of put a note in my brain. Deal with that when you can. In this situation, it probably would have been more beneficial if I played like Spelljammer Twin Strike. That way it puts his Spelljammer on a clock. It would draw 3 cards at the end of the turn. Instead, I just choose to draw 3 spells ahead of time, even without any things to buff it, like, you know, Blood Tier or Blood Rage Mask. I get kind of punished there because the Mana Vortex Phoenix Fire is a possibility, but I don't really want to clear the Spelljammer. So instead, I back up, play Arcane Harp, and then I end up overdrawing. I lose an Onyx Bear Seal, and I'm thinking, darn it, I only have 3 of those, and those are like the get me out of hot water thing, right? Like the get out of jail free cards, right? And I only have a finite amount. Everything else I have to clear with damage, or I have to outsmork before they kill me. So Onyx Bear Seals are kind of like your last minute, like, oh my god, I have to deal with this. Really, it's the only source of dispel in the deck. Handful of spells, though. That's not too uncommon. Or, for this deck at least. Now he plays the Abyssal Juggernaut, and I'm deciding, well, damn, I'm glad I have that OBS. I sure hope I don't need another one soon. I play Onyx Bear Seal, I play Twin Strike, I play Mana Vortex Phoenix Fire to deal with the rest of the board. I swing off the Spelljammer just to be sure that I don't hit the wrong thing with Twin Strike, because if it hits the Pando and the Spelljammer, then I'm kind of SOL, and I can't deal with the Darkspine Elemental. Now, I kind of want to pause here and let the turn play out before we see what happens next. So I go for the Phoenix Fire play, and then I end up replacing a Ghost Lightning, or a Killing Edge, one of the two, I forget. Again, probably because I'm not going to need them next turn. And I draw Forin's Magi. Now, originally, I would have played Mana Vortex that turn just for the cycle. It's at this point where I have enough mana to play whatever spell combo I'll really find or need, but I wanted it for the extra proc on Forin's Magi, so I decided against playing it. And then it becomes a free 2-life swing, as well as the ability to play another spell for cheaper. That's always beneficial. Now, in this situation, he plays my worst nightmare. You'll see in a moment. Abyssal Juggernaut. Because now I'm running out of ways to deal with this thing. And then he plays a Shadow Nova, and I'm just like, crap! I think he misplayed slightly with the Shadow Nova. I think one to the right would have been better, but he wanted the full value from it. So he plays an Abyssal Juggernaut that I have no hopes of dealing with. So I replace a Spelljammer, and then I end up playing Katara and Killing Edge on Katara, just because it's backstab and it'll end up drawing me an extra card. And then now's when I get the Mana Vortex and Bloodborne spell. I know he'll be able to use his Bloodborne spell on it, but I really just want as many procs on the Forin's Magi as possible at this point, like please don't kill me kind of thing. Now, I also played a few cycle cards, so I end up drawing 3 cards at the end of the turn. Now, I'm kind of looking for the lethal in this combo. With 8 mana, I'll be able to play Fox Inner Focus Killing Edge Phoenix Fire that I get from the Fox, and that is a grand total of 11 damage, which is a lot. Like 11 damage for 8 mana is huge, but it's still 2 away. So I'm really kind of out of options here, and I'm not sure where I'm going to go. I just know that I need to deal with that Abyssal Juggernaut, and I put, whatever bodies I can in the way of preventing him from getting to me and doing some face damage. He goes with Demonic Lure, though, and gets rid of my Katara, and I'm thinking, oh crap, he's going to punch me in the face for like 45 million damage here. Bloodborne spell gets rid of the Hearthseeker, of course buffing up Abyssal Juggernaut to 15, killing the Hearthseeker. Shadow Dancer procs. He kills Four Winds Magi instead, and that kind of surprised me. I was thinking I might still have a lethal combo, and I replace it into an Eclipse, which is exact lethal I need. And then you gotta BM with the Killing Edge, right? So Eclipse ends up taking 15 damage, which it then applies to Axe, and then quite expediently stealing that game. But when I replaced Ghost Lightning, I was really looking for anything like a Mist Dragon Seal would have also been very effective, or an Onyx Bear Seal. There was a couple of outs there that I ended up getting lucky and playing into one of them, but really just the out that ended up clearing the game outright. So hopefully that was helpful for you guys. Those are my thoughts as I play a game. They may be short-sighted, but, sometimes Songhai can afford that. And I hope that gives you guys a little bit of insight. Thanks for watching.